Inside Scoop. I'm Rick Morelli. Tonight is the first show in 2012, and we hope all of you had a happy new year. Tonight with us is State Representative Tarah Toohil. She'll be joining us to fill us in on 2012 and what she sees to be expected. And here with me tonight is my co-host, Dr. Dave Sosar. Mike DeCosmo could not make it this evening. Happy New Year to both of you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So we're looking forward to a great 2012. Tarah, you have a lot, I'm sure, you foresee taking place here, and we definitely want to catch up with you. So we appreciate you joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Rick.
So, you know, first of all, one of the things that has happened and it has been in the news, the redistricting, and it's still confusing. Some people are taking a look at the maps and they're questioning why and how they got split up, and is it political? First, talk about what you know about why and how they all got split up.
Right. Well, first off, this is something that has to be done every 10 years based upon the census. All the legislative seats in the House of Representatives, they undergo redistricting. So I have to have between 60,000 and 63,000 people roughly that I represent. So the number came out to about 63,000. So I had to have some changes, and it was agreed upon from the Democrats and the Republicans. They were on the committee of 5 people. It was a 4-to-1 vote. So the Democratic minority leader and the Republican majority leader both agreed on that map. I obviously was upset by it because I'm losing areas that I love to represent.
West Hazelton, Hazel Township.
Yes, which I'm obviously extremely attached to, and we're working on big projects in both of those areas. I've been working closely with both of those municipalities, and that's something that I'll continue to do. And my Hazelton office will be open to constituents from Hazel Township and West Hazelton, so they can still come in and get services. We're not gonna stop representing them. So
that's a good thing. But again, and Dave, you can mention about this. A lot of people are saying, well, it's politics. The Republicans are in. But 10 years ago, when they redid these maps, I'm sure a lot of the same talk was out there, if you remember back.
As Tarah said, this is like this every 10 years, and you know, I'm sure that regardless of what there would be criticism on any of this redistricting as to how it would be done. You lose some of the people that you were most close to, I'm sure, but you'll also pick up some other areas within the valleys and so forth, which I know you're familiar with. I know that you've worked diligently with, and you know, I know you for a long time. Okay. Still one of my great success stories, but nonetheless, I know that you're the kind of person that regardless of whether that person is within your district or not, you're going to be there to help. And that's what really a good representative is expected to do, to be there to represent people within the state of Pennsylvania. Certainly you need to represent the people in your district. But you know, one of the things that I remember, we talked about this a while back as well, there was still a lot of talk, Tarah, that of kind of toning down and narrowing down the numbers within the House. Now that didn't happen this year. Right. And it's interesting that didn't, but they ended up rephasing and redrawing all of these a little bit.
Right.
That kind of fell by the wayside then?
And that's such a good point, because during redistricting, that's the time that you should be eliminating seats. So there's 203 seats in the House of Representatives, and I even agree that that's far too many. There's so many legislators, and it is nice that obviously there's more legislators in the House than there are in the Senate, and that's something that's important to the dynamics of it all. But if you were going to cut seats, I mean, we have a bunch of retirements. We have Monroe County gaining a seat and Pittsburgh losing a seat. So we have things moving around when really you could say, well, the person's retiring and you could get rid of it.
Right. And you know, I mentioned this on the show, and we talked about this before. Lower Luzerne County here, the part of your district that you're losing, people from here can look at this as an opportunity, because now that's the 119th district. And I've said this before, there's a good opportunity, a legitimate opportunity, I should say, that somebody else could run from that district down here and win. And our area could conceivably have 2 people representing. Now, again, it's a smaller portion of the 119th district, and that right now the state representative is Jerry Mullery. Right. And he's up in Nanacoke. So nothing good or bad against him, but just the fact that we can possibly get two people from down here, and that is something that our area has to look at as an opportunity.
Right. And so, I think it is, even if we don't have a representative. It would be really nice, obviously, if someone from the greater Hazleton area was going to get involved with that. But I could say if I was, if I was gaining Nanacoke, that representing the greater Hazleton area, that I'm also going to be concerned about what's going on in Nanacoke, and you're going to be worried about the big projects that they have there, bringing monies to Nanacoke and dealing with their concerns. So it would be nice to have, and that's what will happen, I believe, is that we're going to have that extra representation. So when I'm fighting for something, I'm going to have somebody right next to me that's going to be saying, yeah, that's a problem in Hazleton.
Yep, and that's something we will be seeing, because right now, correct me if I'm wrong, these districts come January 1st, as we speak right now, are in place. Do you expect any challenges to the way the maps are drawn out?
Since we have a municipal split in Hazel Township, that's usually one of the biggest reasons for a challenge. So it seems like maybe there would be one on the Hazel Township part of it, but I'm not really sure, and that we'll be finding out about that in the next month.
Okay.
I've been checking. I'm off for the semester break, so I have to go on my political pages every day, and I got to be honest with you. So far, I've not seen anything, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I do recall something about the possibility of, now here's a name that everybody on the state level, I'm sure, has remembered, Gene Stilts.
Yes.
Thought of possibly putting in some kind of protest on some of it. But even there, I don't think that anything has come to fruition. So, sooner or later, it really all has to be settled quickly, because the time is moving on. The time clock continues to move.
And Gene Stilp, he was the one with the pink pig. I don't know if the viewers have thought it. He goes around and around and on a bunch of different issues on the state level. Yeah. But he had run for state representative, so maybe. And he's supposed to be running up again.
Oh, is he?
So maybe it has something, maybe they redistricted him out of his place where he wanted to run or something. I'll have to look into it. I'll get back to you on it. So, but that would be a challenge.
Well, the fact that you mentioned the pink pig, what that reminds me of was the chicken, which was not, you believe, so long ago, was already a year ago, which unfortunately with this seat, it's a 2-year term. So already, soon you're going to be running for another election, and unfortunately, it's hard to do a lot within a year. And I want to ask you, your first year now that is already gone, I can't believe it, but what are some of the challenges? What are some of the things you were surprised about, and some of the things that I'm sure if you're going to run for re-election again, that you could say, hey, I just don't have enough time? Talk about some of those.
I feel like in the last year that we have done so much, establishing an office, the constituent service side of things, my office, I mean, anyone can come down to the office with any issue that they're having. It's municipal, state, federal, and we will help them, and we'll always point you in the right direction. We'll hold your hand through the process. We'll even lick and stamp the envelope for you. So, I mean, we really help with so much on that, and that has been tremendously rewarding. And in the last year, I've been very well received down in Harrisburg. I was named as a deputy majority whip, so I'm actually in charge of going to other members and talking to them about the way they're voting, trying to get them to vote for or against something. And I've been able to say, hey, we have a problem with MnSEC. I was able to get the Judiciary Committee down here, the Local Government Committee down here, the chairman of those committees and the members of those committees. The Department of Corrections has been responsive to me. So I feel, and that's just with that one issue. Right. And with welfare fraud, I speak on a weekly basis with the secretary for the Department of Public Welfare, the new secretary, and he looks at the Hazleton area as a real problem area with regard to welfare fraud. And in the days ahead, we're going to be working on that issue directly with him. So I've been able to, I don't know, just the squeaky wheel gets the oil or what it may be, but I've been able to fight for real problems that we have and get attention to them.
Yeah,
so
but I think that's important. I think that's important. First of all, what you've had the opportunity to do within this last year, and we always talk about this in every group that we ever speak to. Constituency work is 50% minimum, 50% of everything that representative. I don't care whether you're talking about the state or the national level. Constituency help is the key, and I've heard nothing but good things about your office and what you've been able to do to help people in this local area. It's also a learning experience this first year, but it's a year in which you've had the opportunity, I think as well, to gain some important positions within the state, as you just mentioned, and you too, Rick. Positions that are power positions that do help and remind people about not only that our representative is down in Harrisburg, but look, here is a key person, a key mover and shaker of the legislation which is going through. And so it helps you as well to help us in so many different ways. So, you know, and I got to commend you for everything that you've been able to do in this past year. You know, it's not easy. It's never an easy task, especially if you want to do it right.
Right. And I agree with him saying that obviously about you, Rick, because I think that there are people in this community that if you come to them with a problem and you say, you know, we're having a gang problem, we're having a crime problem, look at our school system, what are we going to do about it? Look at the county and the problems we've had. There's some people that take it very personally and that are going to work hard for you, and you're definitely one of those people.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. On that note, let's take a quick break. I want to get into some other things when we get back. We want to talk about property taxes. We want to talk about jobs, welfare reform, a number of things you've been working on. So let's take a quick break. Watching Inside Scoop, we're here with State Representative Tarah Toohil. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Scoop. We are here with State Representative Tarah Toohil. Tarah, before the break, we were talking about the redistricting, but let's talk about some more specific issues. One is property tax relief. That's something you've been working on. Why don't you fill us in on what you see happening and what's happening in Harrisburg? Well,
I've also, I was able to get on the policy committee's task force with regard to searching for answers for property tax relief. Since the 1960s and 70s, people in Pennsylvania have been promised property tax relief. And one of the biggest issues when I went around during the campaign and I went door to door and I spoke to people, the biggest issue that was hurting them was obviously the lack of income and the lack of jobs, but also the fact that their property taxes just go up and up and up. So getting, you know, raised by the school board, and that people are losing their homes because of it. So going forward, the committee, we've been trying to find out what the most viable solutions are. Okay. Yeah. So.
You know, and taxes are always going to be one of the big issues here. I know that the state looked at for a while state sales tax. I know that the gaming funding was supposed to have been utilized in some cases for income tax relief, but that's kind of come down.
Right.
You know, you've got so many at this point categories that money goes to that unfortunately that's not really met on out as much as it should have. One of the things that and this is a third rail, I got to admit, you know, so I don't want to, you know, you can speak to it in any way that you want to. One of the things I know that in Pennsylvania, looking at a costing out study that was done about 2007 in Augenblick and others, a Denver consulting firm suggested was that in the 6 states around us, the flat tax income tax was handled better in those states. Mm-hmm. And that we as a state really don't handle this as well. And yet, you know, you have a governor right now who really is not interested in raising any taxes, any new taxes. So how we handle all of this is really, you've got your hands tied, because to get the money that you need to run government, but to not raise new taxes is tough.
And that's one of the things, is that the solutions involve a sales tax on certain items. And people really, I mean, you have to sell that to the people, because the people out there watching are the ones that are going to have to agree to it. And that was the biggest thing in Pennsylvania when the people said, yes, okay, let's have table games in Pennsylvania. The only reason why we ever agreed to that was because of the property tax relief that we were promised.
And again, what we're seeing here is whether it's school districts with the county or the municipalities, everyone has tight budgets, and most of your revenue comes from the taxes. And I truly believe that we do have to look at other alternatives for the taxes, because what took place years and years ago just isn't cutting it here. And we do need to look at different ways, whether it's the sales tax. You know, we've heard so many people who say, well, I pay these school taxes and I don't have any kids in there.
Right.
It's not easy, but the fact is that you're saying Harrisburg is looking at options and other things.
Yes, and it's important because people at home and across the state of Pennsylvania, they are so vocal about that this is one of the #1 issues. So we as a legislature and myself, we are cognizant of that, and it's something that I keep on being very vocal about. And so we're striving to look for solutions.
It's a problem. When you talk about a property tax in particular, it's probably one of the more regressive taxes. For those not understanding regressive taxes, it's one that usually places a heavier burden on those who can least afford it. And in true to fact, the younger people are the ones who need the larger homes because of the families. It's the older people who usually have already developed their wealth, who are ready to move into a condo, ready to move into an apartment or something like that. And so the people who can probably most afford, and I'm not saying that all older people can do that, but older people who do have their wealth and all that now can't, you don't have to pay it, but the younger person who has the house does. And that's one of the things that, you know, you've got an older family in some cases who want to keep the homestead, they can't afford it. You've got younger people who are buying the homes now, they can't afford it. So there has to be some kind of give and take here. But you know, as a representative, I don't envy on that one at all.
It's a tough one, and for either the middle-aged people, the younger people, or our seniors, it's the American dream for all of them, and they're all losing the American dream, and it's just so unfortunate, and it's something that we have to do something about, because not before I ever got into politics, it was something that we were told, oh, we'll work on it, we'll work on it. But we have to make tough decisions. We have to sit down and see what the members of the House can vote for and what could get through the Senate.
Another issue that tends to be a hot topic, welfare reform, and what's the legislature doing about eliminating fraud?
Well, my first bill, actually, that I was very proud of, because it's really hard to even get a bill out there out of committee, let alone out on the House floor. But my first bill was one with welfare fraud, and it was making it a felony if you take those cards, just kind of like the same as credit card fraud would be, if I would steal your card or use your access card. And the people in the greater Hazleton area, they have such a grasp on this welfare fraud with the access cards in particular, because it's something that they see while they're at Walmart. They see it when they're at the store, and they get so incensed about it because they're working so hard, and then they see people with this card, and we get calls, we get weekly calls, sometimes we'll have 3 calls in a day about it, and I've been able to bring a lot of it to the attention of the department, where they can say, we're going to stop FedExing these cards. They were actually, if you sign up for one, you don't ever have to go pick it up. Like, you used to have to go stand in the welfare line, and there was accountability. Now they'll just FedEx it to you. Somebody else can sign for it. If you lose that card, they'll give you a new one, no cost. So there's just a myriad of problems
Obviously,
with
that system seems to be broke clearly, and needs to be worked on. And again, that's a pet peeve. I mean, we've all seen that. And that's the key. You pay these taxes, but when somebody's abusing something that you're paying for, and you have to pay for all these taxes, it bothers people, and that's what hits home.
Well, and that's it. Just people in this area, and they're all good people. They will help out anybody who needs help. I don't think that becomes the question. The question is, how do we begin to more so define and refine the system so that those who need that help are able to receive that help? And or maybe receive it in a different way. And to those who don't deserve the help, we're going to deny it because you're cheating the system. And that hurts the people who are helping to pay their taxes into it. I don't know how you do that, but that's really got to be the goal that we work on. And whether that be a new system of asking more so for work of any type, and then building on a more of an open system so that you can maybe get to a level of self-sufficiency from that, rather than just, if you're not making enough here, because every person in this town, I think, has a story about somebody that they know has played the system, or I've seen 3 cards, or I've seen this and that.
And the problem is that really the government was saying, we're going to try to take away the stigma, you know, that you're poor and there's haves and have-nots, and we're going to give you this plastic card that's going to be so easy for you to access it. But when they gave you all this increased access, and we lost the accountability altogether, and that's
again,
where the fraud comes in.
That is definitely something that hits home with the public. Budget, again, 8 years in a row. Correct me if I'm right.
Yes.
8 years in a row. The legislature, they had a tough time balancing the budget, or getting the budget in on time, I should say.
Yes.
Where are we going with this year's budget? What do you see?
Well, just to talk about the last 8 years, I mean, really, it was something that the people here and myself, when I decided to run, I looked at it and I said, you know, passing the budget, it's, you know, you have to live within your means, just like the rest of us are, and you have to get that budget passed. And the legislators were paying themselves extra while it was going on. There was a 103-day budget impasse that went on in the summer. The state troopers were getting their cars taken away, like their actual vehicles that they owned, like if a husband and a wife, if they were both troopers, they were being laid off and going unpaid. And that really was one of the things that made me run for office, just the fact that I didn't feel that Harrisburg was doing their job, and they weren't. So going forward, I mean, we did pass a budget. It was very contentious. There were a lot of tough cuts. We lost a lot of the federal Obama money that was going into education. But I made sure that for our school district that we had an increase on the state level of that funding. So it's going to be tough coming up because revenues are down. Right. So the budget is definitely a concern. It's definitely going to take up a lot of our time.
Yeah. Latest reading is that the income tax is going to fall short by about $500 million this year, and if that turns out to be true to point, it's going to put some pressure on you guys once again to have to make some serious cuts. Mm-hmm. And on top of the cuts that you've had last year, you know, obviously nobody wants to see that.
Right.
But as Tara mentioned before, one of the problems that you get into is that you've got to live within your means. And if you don't have the money, then you can't spend the money. And so, but it has to become gut-wrenching after a while to see so many different programs and which ones you feel that you need to cut and which ones you just can't.
And a lot of the money goes to these good community-based programs that really help the truly needy. And it's important to keep on funding those, or, you know, some of them are going to be forced to consolidate and work together a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And a good thing to point out is in the beginning of this year, we were $500 million over the estimates. So we had revenue over estimates that came in. And everyone said, oh, we have a surplus, let's spend it, let's spend it. Everybody wanted to spend it down there, and we didn't. And we took some flack for that. The Republican leadership didn't want to spend the money. And it's a good thing we didn't now, because that's not the case anymore.
Right. Good. Jobs. Talk about that. We still have a high percentage of unemployment. Big topic around here. What's working? What's going on?
Well, I think that you know, obviously, on the national economy, it doesn't look good. You see some numbers that say that things have improved, and you know, and I don't agree with those. And a lot of that you think is politicized. And people around here, I mean, I have constituents and family members and people that we know, neighbors, that, I mean, they're looking for jobs and can't get good family sustaining jobs. So obviously we have a deficit of those type of jobs here in this area. Mm-hmm. So I've been working on a personal level to draw companies here. I've been working with the hospital to draw doctors to the community, because it's hard to get younger people to come here and work. And it's hard to get big companies to come in. Yeah. So it's really something that's a struggle, but it's something that we're working on. And we've had a lot of small businesses that have opened, and that gives you hope that you know, it's an improvement. And we've had ribbon cuttings, and we've had people that are trying to get on their feet even in these tough economic times. And those small businessmen and women, they employ people. So
yeah, it's certainly, it's not something that happens overnight, but it is something that needs to get done around here, and you got to continue to keep working on that. But right now we have less than 2 minutes left. Talk about crime here in Hazleton, legislation. I mean, really into the nuts and bolts of the greater Hazleton area. Well,
what we're trying to do, I'm with the mayor 100% on trying to increase police presence in Hazleton City proper, because it goes right with, you know, the way New York was. When you used to go to New York, you wouldn't want to walk down the street, and now they have an increased presence. They cleaned up all the broken windows, cleaned up the graffiti, and my dream for Hazleton is that it is going to be a place on Broad Street. We have the revitalization program going on. That project is amazing, and we're going to get jobs down here, and we're going to have business down here, and our youth is going to want to stay here and be a part of this. But the crime is something we need to work on. More money for our police budget is very important, increased police presence, and I'm helping from the state level to make sure we get that done. Yeah. But it's something I believe in. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, with the idea, and my argument has always been, when you take a look at Broad Street as an example, you've got Lackawanna College on Broad Street in the old, old post office down there. You've got LCCC in the Dyshertz building. Right, okay. You have just a few blocks away going down Church Street, you have McCann's. We've got a number of schools that are feeding people into the center of our city at any given time, which should make this an ideal area for some businesses, for more activity, for more of a life, so that we can, you know, and where there's activity, there's much less crime, because there's not the opportunity to get involved in it and get away with it. Yeah. And it's just one of those things that I would like to see, maybe that we can emphasize some more. And that's with the police, and that's with maybe getting some of the people who are on the drugs off the drugs, and that. If we can deal with the drugs a little bit more. And I know that there's programs on out there, but we've got to get some people off the drugs that are taking them right now. Yeah. If there's no market, there's no dealers.
Absolutely, absolutely. Unfortunately, Tarah, we are out of time, but I want to thank you for joining us here, our first show in 2012. Hopefully, we'll have you on again. I personally look forward to working with you hand in hand on the important issues around here this year. And again, wish both of you a happy 2012, as well as all of you out there watching Inside Scoop. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great evening. Thank you.